Well, it's nice to see the entire family again. My Gears of War Gears of War console for Xbox 360, controller, and of course the babies. All the babies. Just like he'll show them all up here. All of them here. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that smile for the camera. Hey guys, Vico here, and today, obviously, as you might have already noticed, I'm following sort of a theme here with the conferences, kind of showing you a little bit of everything. And today I'm going to show you my impressions of the very kind of impressive, the very long Xbox Microsoft E3 2015 conference impressions. I honestly just got done watching it a few moments ago, and I had to take a break because that thing was long. Yeah, I was watching it through the Gamespot channel, and the whole thing is 2 hours and 41 minutes long. 33 minutes in, they start, and about around the 2 hour mark, I think, or 2 hour and something mark. So the whole thing is like 2 hours, pretty much. Overall, I'd like to say that the conference, they didn't show much of stuff that I kind of didn't already know, or stuff that we've already seen, and things that didn't get into too much detail. Some things they did, and some things they will most likely talk about in later conferences again. But anyway, the conference also had this kind of annoying thing that they kept doing. Like during games, they kept like throwing these titles, and they kept just showing you what was happening. It was like revealing the name of the game. Just like they're gonna reveal the name of the game. The end kind of just like breaks the immersion whenever that gray black thing just kept showing up there. That like, okay, we get it, it's the Xbox One, Xbox exclusive, we get it, you say it before, you don't have to mention it again, stop it. We begin with the head of 343 Studios, of course, talking about Guardians, Halo 5. They actually show a little bit. This time they're showing some footage from Locke, and he apparently has a squadron according to the game. Master Chief also has his own squadron. They're showing with a bunch of other people, and during the thing, they're showing Covenant, but they also kind of show that the Arbiter may actually be involved in this campaign again, which is great because I love the Arbiter. We are trying to get away from a situation at a Covenant base. I think there's this thing called the Guardian that goes away and basically causes the place to sort of break down, and then they take against Prometheans, where they show that the characters themselves have like these skills, or think they're kind of exclusive skills. I saw someone get revived, like kind of brought back up. Locke can sort of just do this ground pound, and later they said that the multiplayer, it was going to be just like 24-player multiplayer. They're also going to be AI-controlled opponents, and they showed this thing called Warzone, where they showed Prometheans and Forerunners, and showed Covenant, and it seems as though it's like a player versus player, and the whole environment is all together. It's like this, it really does look like mayhem, and that adds another element of fun into the already impressive multiplayer. There are different things. I mean, it's not just, I thought they were going to talk about anything new, but of course, when Phil Spencer went off at the very beginning and said that they were going to introduce new IPs, they started with Recore, which is coming from the team up at Concept, which apparently Keiji Inafune was also involved in Metroid Prime. I was kind of surprised that that is the name that came up. A story is a name called Recore, which it's pretty much all cinematic, and they show this girl and this robotic dog going from a storm, and then they discover this cave with a giant robot blocking it. And then there's these threats in which they kill, but there's so many, so the dog kind of blows himself up, leaves the core of his life, and then she puts it into the bigger robot, and that is kind of showing the concept. You're going to have maybe companions that you're going to be swapping this big ore, moving it to another, and I thought that that's really cool. The team of concept is hard at work in Mighty Number 9, and I'm glad that they get a chance to make a new IP for the Xbox, which, of course, to absolutely no one's surprise, because everybody's already kind of talked about it, and we all know now, Xbox One will have backwards compatibility with a bunch of games for the holiday, and it's going to grow on. I'm pretty sure all of these games are going to be backwards compatible, and most of the other stuff. I've got a pretty decent collection of games here. So I'm thinking that I don't have bad games here. I'm thinking almost all of them will most likely be backwards compatible at some point. How it works is if you have bought digital ones, they'll already be available for you to play or maybe download from the store. And then from there, you'll also be able to install them from the disc so you can play them. It's really cool. I mean, like, if you are a member from the preview program, it's actually available now with a few games. For then others, you will have it in the holiday season. Excuse me. So they showed Mass Effect 1. They said that it ran better, but I didn't see too much of an improvement. But they did add the Xbox One functionality, like taking a picture and streaming it. So it's a game that you could play with the Xbox One functionality on it too. And speaking of pretty awesome functionality for the Xbox, they introduced the Elite controller, the $150 controller, which allows you to swap the controller and the joypad and all that stuff, and it has hair triggers and swappable components. You got the bottom impact triggers at the bottom. It really did feel like a controller that was done by a company that does custom modded controllers for all of the consoles. And I think they figured, you know what, these people can do it, but why do we do it? So I'm pretty sure that a lot of the stuff that's there is going to be available. It's a high price, but then again, if you think about it, most of those pro modded controller companies, they also charge a lot because they're putting customizable things in, hidden buttons, quick action, instant prone buttons there. So there's a lot that's kind of I mean, looking good for that. So if you're not into just kind of putting your faith into like a pro modded company, which I think you should because it's pretty cool, go invest in this pro controller. I wish that Microsoft would take part of the pro modding community. Maybe instead of just getting that basic controller, maybe you can put in a custom request so that you can get your own version of the pro controller, which I'm thinking it could also make the job of the pro modders easy, because all they need to do is just customize the whole thing, take it apart, put it back together, and then they just worry about giving you a good looking controller instead of meddling with the mechanics. Todd Howard showed up again and talked a little bit more about Fallout 4, which I'm going to skip because a lot of what he said was stuff that he talked about right after he showed the initial art from the conference that he did the day before. Not a lot of extensive information. There's a lot of it that happened that was given to you on the Bethesda conference, and I think they might have showed a bit more of the combat, you in the power suit, but it's nothing that you didn't already know, which is probably why everybody wasn't all that excited, because they saw pretty much everything leading up to that. And that's kind of a bad idea to have them there when you're not adding anything new. You're just only saying, ooh, you're going to be able to move mods from the PC to the Xbox One, which I honestly would love to know how that's going to happen. They will be able to get away with mods that stuff that is copyrighted. I'm kind of wondering if people are going to jump onto that. So especially over the stuff that happened with the mods, with the paid mods. But it seems that like now they're just trying to blend this thing, which they're going to be able to do mods that you do on the PC. They're going to be transferable to the Xbox One version of the game, which it's sort of just another way where Microsoft is trying to blend itself with the PC. They mentioned Windows 10 a lot. So, to the next one. This was a dark omen coming, and this is where Peter Moore comes out from EA talking a whole lot about EA Access. You even remember EA Access? EA Access, that service which allows you to pay a monthly membership and you can get games that you could play. And all their only announcement about it was, Titanfall was going to be coming soon, and Dragon Age Inquisition is going to be coming out soon for the Vault, which you could already get those games, and you've had the chance to get those games on sale, and I already have those 2 games already on Origin, so no. Then they talked about Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, which all it was just a cinematic, that's all, and new zombies and new plans and nothing too extravagant. And the fact that pretty much the first one just became a microtransaction black hole, which just like forced the difficulty in order for you to buy with a solution that they themselves created, I was like, no. Then Forza 6 came out, and Henry Ford III was talking. They descended a car again with the car. I figured, I was looking at it, I was like, oh, they're going to descend a car. They're going to talk about another car again. And they, again, talking about the cool things about Forza. Now, to be fair, Forza looks great. At 1080p, 60 frames per second, apparently. There's it's very realistic. It looks really good. If you're a racing fan, if you've loved the Forza series, it definitely looks like it's a game. I don't know if it's going to have more. I don't know if it's going to have less than what you've gotten before. I have not played any Forza games. I do not care about the Forza games. And it's going to come out on September the 15th. And they already told you that you could get a bonus with pre-order on the E3 conference. Splendid. Keep going with that stuff about the pre-orders. They debuted, From Software debuted it, Dark Souls 3. Which was just a cinematic, and the crowd was getting lulled to sleep. You would think they'd be excited over Dark Souls 3, but I think the flair of the Dark Souls games is gone. I mean, Bloodborne is kind of sort of held it up pretty good, but I'm thinking that a lot of people are just like, ooh, Dark Souls, and not a lot of people are too terribly excited. They know what they're going to get. And then EA from Europe, Ubisoft came out, and then they started talking about The Division again, which all they did was show a trailer of stuff we already knew about the game, which apparently the beta is coming out for Xbox One in December, which means that if the game is going to come out on beta at the end of this year, that means that this game still has a long way to go. Or maybe they're releasing it early in the year. I have no idea. The Division is a game that has been hanging E3 after E3. I figured they already give us a release date. They're not. I haven't watched the Ubisoft conference yet. They may give us more information, but it feels like I already know enough of the game. They need to just tell us when it's going to be done. Then came Rainbow Six Siege, which they showed another trailer, which they're going into a plane. There's this one guy from there that said that it's going to, that the game is, the versions of Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2 are going to be available, backwards compatibility for the Xbox One, and both games are going to be free if you get Rainbow Six Siege. So that's pretty cool, because Vegas 1 and 2 are pretty much one of the better ones. I think Vegas 1 is better. It's notoriously difficult, I think, very realistic, and seems like people really do dig those games. Rainbow Six, I only played the first one, the very, very first one, and I thought it was pretty good. It was very realistic. You shoot through walls, you die almost instantly if you just run in there and just kill everything. You really do have to plan, so I do hope that along with the destructible environments, they keep a lot of that in, which, again, I'm thinking the Ubisoft conference hopefully will show that more. Gigantic. It's a new MOBA. It's going to become, it's already kind of in alpha, and the beta is going to start on August the 10th. It's going to be also on Xbox One. I haven't seen much, haven't heard much. It's It's apparently one of those games that is kind of still sort of out there. Then they played an indie games like trailer, and half of it was kind of just missing. So what happened was that this dude came talking about ID at Xbox. I think it has to do with their independent games. One, it's sort of like their games for Xbox, like the indie one that came out. This one, a couple of people were talking, like for example, the creator of Gone Home, Fulbright, brought this game called Tacoma. And Tacoma is this game where you're at a space station and you seem to be the only one there. And it has this very Gone Home feel to it. But in this game, it sort of feels more like your character is doing stuff. I'm hoping that this game is not as linear. I hope that this game really does have a state in which you feel like your character is in some kind of peril, that there is a stake, because in Gone Home you can't die. Spoiler alert, you can't die. It's more like an interactive story. Even if this is an interactive story, it's in a space station. I like space stations. I like games about space stations. I'm a big fan of movies in space stations like Event Horizon. So this definitely does have an era mystery to it, so I'm very interested in that. Then there's this game from Aurora 44 that's called Ashen. And it's sort of kind of have this feel of Brothers. I like the art style. I like that you and your companion, they're like these figures and they have no faces. And at the very end, you get this very big beast. It's sort of like a plant beast, sort of like a manatee, and it's made of grass. It's very whimsical. It looks very beautiful, and kind of sort of goes to show you that indie games or indie developers have more of a artistic approach to their games. I like that. I don't know if they can be a bit pretentious with their style. As long as you get an experience and it looks enjoyable and plays enjoyable and it's fun as well, I'll dig it. And some have had very interesting experiences, like Tiger and Squid's presentation with this game called Beyond Eyes, which I thought of the Unfinished Swan when I saw this game. And this element is apparently a character who is blind, and the world starts manifesting. It's like you're in a blank canvas, and the world starts sort of painting itself into existence. Very colorful. It changes along with you. So I'm thinking that you discover the world through the other senses that you have, and I hope that this game does have an adventure or a plot or something in it. But for now, it definitely looks very interesting. Now, the one that I like the most was Cuphead, which is done by this studio called MDHR, and this one is sort of like a shoot 'em up game, kind of like Alien Hominid. It has a very old 1930s cartoon feel. It's sort of like if you take Steamboat Willie and Alien Hominid but put them together, and it's just very nice. It's like you see the static, you see the characters. It's like it's all animated like old cartoons, like old Disney 1930 cartoons, and it just felt very nostalgic, and I was very, very happy. It's one of those games where I'm just like, okay, this is awesome. It looks really, really cool. They went into this thing they called Xbox Game Preview, which is basically early access. It's early access from Steam, except that this one has a cool feature. You could actually have a free trial of the game, and you have a choice of trying it or paying to get the game that's already in development. So basically, it's sort of like, it's got a little advantage over early access, which you could test the game, and if you feel as though you've been convinced, you can jump in the game. Just remember that this thing is there's still games in development, so you got to take it easy. They showed games like The Long Dark, Elite Dangerous, DayZ. Apparently, at the beginning, it's already available. I don't know if it's for the people in the preview program or not, but The Long Dark and Elite Dangerous, you can already jump in, and it seems pretty cool. Elite Dangerous is awesome. It's already available on PC, so you know, go get that. The creator of DayZ came out and showed us a new IP he was creating. It's called Ion, and not much was shown other than it looked as though it was going to be this outer space MMO, which you were going to be at a outer space simulation, and it was showing things like space stations blowing up, and well, they didn't show too much of the mechanics of the game. It was sort of suggesting that it was going to be a very huge, universally like sized world. I'm thinking they're trying to do something to get with No Man's Sky, which I already know they showed pretty much good stuff on the Sony conference, but we'll get to that one later. After that came Rise of the Tomb Raider, with Crystal Dynamics showing a demo of Lara Croft in her next adventure, which apparently they're on their way to this city. This time they're in an icy mountain. And of course, the mountain is angry. There's a storm, and they want to kill everybody. And Lara and her companion, it's really cool because they're both tethered together, and she is trying to climb this mountain, and she's like, "Oh, I got you." "No, I don't got you," says her friend, and she's just like swinging back and forth. She gets just slammed into a mountain, and it's got very similar mechanics towards the first one that came out from the reboot in the Tomb Raider game, but it feels as though now there's a little more tomb raiding in it. It feels more like, I think they hinted as that you kill animals and use more survival in it. She still has her bow. It seems as though you are still this like hecka killer, but the game definitely still shows a lot of the awesomeness that I enjoyed from the Tomb Raider game that was done. I had it on PC. I will most definitely get this on PC. They say it's exclusive for Xbox One. I don't believe that for a second. You'll see this game will come out. It'll get a definitive version for the PC. You bet. But it comes out this year. It comes out on November 10th. And then came Rare. Those people who got bought by Microsoft, who's not done much of anything recently. But then they did something special to celebrate their 30th anniversary. They're going to release something that's called Rare Replay, and this game has pretty much all of Rare's games, with the exception of the Nintendo ones, obviously. But the collection is amazing. I mean, they got Battletoads. They got RC Pro-Am. They got Banjo-Kazooie. They got Banjo-Tooie. They got Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, depending if you like it or not. Viva Pinata. They have this game called Battletoads Arcade, which I'm thinking is a remake of the Battletoads game. I heard there was going to be a new Battletoads game. I didn't talk about it there, but when cameo elements of Power, Perfect Dark Zero, and they have Jet Force Gemini, which is like one of my all-time favorite games, Jet Force Gemini. And I'm just like, now I'm like Xbox One. I'm thinking this is going to be it. I'm going to get an Xbox One over a PlayStation 4, which I'm probably going to get as well. I don't know. This is conflicting. So this got me excited, which is weird because a lot of throughout the conference, I mean, I got excited for Tomb Raider and obviously Halo. I'm looking forward to it, but not much of what I've seen already. I'm too terribly like, oh my god, going crazy. So these games from my childhood are, coming back. There's this new game that Rare is making, and it's pirate theme, and it's called Sea of Thieves, which apparently it looks like it's an open world survival game. There's multiple players in it. From what you could see, you can interact with other people. You can get in pirate battles in pirate ships. They didn't show too much of it. I wish they did. We're gonna have to see. It looks like it's like an open world like survival game, and it's themed with pirates. But all that matters is that Rare is doing games. Rare is creating games. They're giving us the Rare Replay, and I am so looking forward to it. And then Fable Legends was shown again, and all they really said was that it was going to be free to play. And then he said something about I think that this game is going to be available for PC and for Xbox One. And then he said what you earn or buy will transfer from one version to the other, which is weird because you said it was a free-to-play game, and then the next sentence you say is earn or buy. Buy. You buy. I'm thinking this is a free-to-play game with microtransactions and an in-game shop, so maybe you should think of a new word other than free, because you don't really want to say the game is free and then you say stuff like what you buy will transfer to one version or the other. It's a bit confusing, but I mean, when he said free to play, I was like, I know this isn't going to be free to play. Come on, we're not fooling us. Then they started going into VR. They say that they teamed up with Valve to do stuff with VR. Apparently, they've got this deal with Oculus, which if you buy Oculus, it's going to come with an Xbox One controller. And apparently, they're getting involved a lot with HoloLens, which if you don't know what HoloLens is, it's basically Microsoft's foray into holograms, which look to me is like it's augmented reality. And they showed Minecraft's HoloLens version, where this woman from Mojang and this other dude from Mojang are playing. And what they did was that they showed this camera, and basically what the camera did was it was showing Minecraft in a HoloLens version of it. The crowd probably couldn't see anything when they were looking at the table, but through the screen, through the camera, they were showing that the experience, you basically you could play this game using this HoloLens, and you can just do voice commands, and you could just pinch and zoom. You can go up and down and see the world. You can do an overview. You can do things, voice commands of every single thing you could summon on Minecraft. To me, it definitely still doesn't have that thing that says, oh, this is cool. These are holograms. Because I was told that to get true holograms, you need something to project light. This is like you wear goggles, and the game just sort of just produces these holograms through, I think, a device or something. That seems more like AR to me. But the technology looks cool. I was very skeptical because things like these usually are typically too good to be true. I still haven't used an Oculus. I still haven't gone into the Morpheus. I have not dived into anything. Nobody around in Florida seems to have one of these so that I could go and use it and interact with it. And I would love nothing than to interact with an Oculus just to feel what this VR is coming. But HoloLens is out there. The bottom line is that Microsoft is definitely getting knee deep into Oculus and VR, and perhaps maybe the next generation console, maybe as soon as the next year or two with Xbox One, we'll see more virtual reality themed stuff. Because as far as we know, VR has never been more stronger. I do not think it's going to be a gimmick. I just hope that it doesn't become something optional. I do want games to focus on making the game experience better with the Oculus or with whatever you're using, or HoloLens or whatever. I want it not to be an option. I don't want it to be like the Kinect, which you could still play the games without one. I want it to be an actual thing. I want this to actually work. And last but certainly not least, my babies, Gears of War. We already knew it was coming. If you saw the end of last year's conference, you saw the cog, the Crimson Death, the head, and you knew it was coming. But what was really cool was that they got two announcements. The first one was that you were getting a totally remastered version of this baby, the first Gears of War. It's called the Ultimate Edition, which is going to be totally remastered with new gaming elements. It's going to look much better. It's going to run at 60 frames per second, and it's going to have multiplayer. So I thought that was pretty cool. Then they showed Gears of War 4. And this isn't Gears of War 4. This is Gears of War Judgments. This is sort of like a prequel to this one. Because they weren't together. Damon and Cole weren't with Dom and Marcus still, so But this one looks like a whole new game. It's like a brand new characters in there, and there's this lady character with you as well. And I think this dude's name is JD. I thought he was gonna be Carmine, but maybe he's still Carmine. We haven't seen any signs that there's gonna be a Carmine, but I hope that we find it's like Carmine lived. So I'm hoping maybe that's JD. Maybe his last name is Carmine. I'm betting on that. We'll see. But anyway, it's cool because they're like in this dark area and then they're just going around. And again, there's a theme with this Xbox conference. It's like majority of the major games, they're running away from a storm. And again, they're running away from a storm. But this time it's like this big freaky ass tornado, like lightning bolt a la Mad Max Desert Fury Road, just bullshit. And then suddenly is like they are in this contained place where they run into these pods, and the pods seem to indicate that this is a new threat. And then when they go into the open courtyard, they meet this new threat. And this new threat, I can describe it as crab frog mutant with multiple tongues. It's like a crustacean amphibious monster. They don't look like locust, but it could very well be locust. Maybe. It looks good. I mean, these things leap from like long ass distances. I mean, the enemies, the special enemies like these, are incredibly annoying. And they've declared at the end that it was Gears 4 following the story. And it's coming out holiday in 2016. And at the end, Phil came out again and said stuff about how they were going to reveal more in Gamescom about stuff like Scalebound and Quantum Break and a bunch of the other ones that they've kind of just sort of talked about. New games, new IPs, I think, on Gamescom. So expect another Xbox briefing to come around that time. So. And that was it. It was almost 2 hour long and going about 33 minutes. And it just was a lot of information. They went through a lot of information. They went through a lot of stuff. And trust me when I tell you, this Xbox conference was, in my honest opinion, it was a good conference, although it didn't blow me away. When Rare Replay, this collection of 30 games that are old and they're like warms your heart seeing them again, is the most exciting thing in your conference. That's kind of the indicator that you may have the best lineup of games coming out, but there's still games that we already kind of knew about. I mean, they're like Rise of the Tomb Raider, Halo Guardians, obviously the next Forza game. I like that those games, along with Gears of War, the Definitive Edition, and there's 5 major games that are and Fable Legends are all going to come out this year. So they've got a pretty impressive lineup coming up. I do not lie. They have a strong end of the year coming up. It's very, very impressive. Really, really good. Yet, for some reason, I got put off from a few points. EA should not have been there. Ubisoft, well, obviously, they should not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all they did was show a trailer of a game we already knew that was coming out. And they're probably going to talk about more in their conference. They kind of just like, why do you bother showing up on other people's conferences? Stop doing that. You have your own conferences. Leave that stuff for your conferences. Because you only end up going to repeat yourself. It's like Todd Howard. He went up there to say, like, what he said in about what took him like a long time to just act carefully and like get us excited for Fallout 4. He said it in like 2 minutes, and he missed a whole bunch of stuff that he just didn't have enough time to say, because I would have added like another hour, and he didn't need it to do that because all of that information was provided in the Bethesda briefing, which you did not need to be there, but you had to be there to say that mods are going to be from the PC. They're going to be compatible with your Xbox One version of Fallout 4. Perfectly fine. I am obviously excited for Gears. I love Gears, and Gears is the reason why I got an Xbox 360. Definitely looking very much forward to what this studio is doing with this puppy here. I'm hoping that if this version of the game gets this remastered definitive edition, maybe this one and this one and this one will come in their own like collection. I'm hoping that would be, because I mean I can understand this one not being in it on its collection, because this one is a little more outdated than these. These three are a lot more similar than this one, so I'm hoping that maybe later this and this and this and this later will all be bundled together. But also, I mean, I'm thinking these games by the holidays will already be compatible. And like they said, all you had to do was load the game. The developers probably don't have to do much of anything. All they have to do is sort of just like integrate the Xbox One functionalities, make it is running off that same server, I think. So you will most likely be able to play good these games right off the bat. And I don't know about the multiplayer, but there we go. And overall, a very long conference. It was a bit of a slug through times. I had to sit down on my couch and relax, and it was just kind of like, wait a minute, this is getting a little long, but just like this video. But I'm thinking the Sony conference is going to be just the same, and you know, that's fine with me. You know what, whatever. I mean, these are the big boys. This is E3. You got to sort of just come out and deliver as best as you can. So that's all I have to say. If I was going to give it a rating, I would give it a 3 out of 5. Given the fact that they showed me Gears, and Rare Replay was really awesome, and Rise of the Tomb Raider was really good. Other than that, I think I kind of like just, they needed games that they needed more detail from the indie games. I needed more detail from this game called Recore. I really was looking for maybe like more information. I'm glad that they announced it. I just kind of don't like when they make just this big, huge thing and then all of a sudden they just don't tell you much of it. You just kind of just like do these speculations. I don't know if they did more gameplay footage throughout later. I'm sure maybe like in Gamescom, maybe they'll have more for Recore. I hope, because that game looks, it kind of looks promising. But we'll see what happens. That's just, I'm done. I'm done with my opinions, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. And well, we'll see what happens with the other conferences, because the next one is the EA conference, and I am absolutely not looking forward for that one. I mean, I already know that he talked about Battlefront, and then they already also talked about Mass Effect. With the Mass Effect, they only just, well, I'm not going to give too much away, but I mean, you already know. I mean, they mentioned the new Mass Effect game, but I'm hoping they talked about other things. So we'll see what happens, and that'll be all for later. So you all have yourselves a very cool evening. My name is Fico, and that was my gaming mind, and I'm gonna go down this way, get up, and join the coal train.